So let's see what's going on here. Let's start from the beginning. Heavy reverb. It's all chromatic. Get out of the heavy reverb, because now you're going to go to Paige's part. What Paige is doing here is just a... Okay, so what are these chords that are being played here? It's an F with a C on the bottom, the fifth on the bottom. Then it's an F with a C sharp on the bottom, or an F augmented, okay? Then it's an F with a 6 on the bottom, or a D, okay? So, for the sake of this song, just look at it, because it's the bass line that's bouncing around. We're just going to call it all F, but it's just changing that bottom bass note. So, F with a C on bottom, F with C sharp on bottom, F with D on bottom, okay? Back to the F with the C sharp on the bottom, okay? But it can't hurt to know the different names of that stuff. And one thing I want to point out, do you notice when I got to this F with the D on the bottom, how it's the same notes as a D sharp minor? Remember, D sharp minor is the same thing as F major, okay? So, if that was D sharp minor, it would be 1, flat 3, 5. But where our tonic here is F, so we're looking at it from the perspective of F, which is the 6 on the bottom. Okay, so it's the D. So you got that. Let's go now to when Trey starts singing.
It was late one fall night at a fairground near town.
Now here's where the changes happen. When Trey comes in and starts singing, it goes. Now that D is going to go to E flat. E flat. So we're now calling that F with the E flat in the bottom. Or if you want to look at it from where its sonic sound of it really is, it's an F7. Because E flat is the flat 7 of F. But like I said, we're just looking at it from it being a all F with the bass line moving. So he goes. So after that, F with the E flat in the bottom happens. Then the sound of it is still back to that F with a D on the bottom, but it's really not that. It's really going to the 4 chord. So even though it's the same notes as what the F with a D on the bottom, it's now really a B flat first inversion, B flat major 7 first inversion. You don't have to confuse yourself. What's important is that you know that it goes B flat's happening, B flat with the major 7 with that D on the bottom, so first inversion. Same B flat major 7, because this is the major 7 of B flat. So a B flat major 7 is this, right? 1, 5, major 7, 3. So on the F chord, the 1 and the 3, when you're looking at it from the perspective of it being a B flat, that's now the 5 and the major 7. So it's the same notes, but it's really a different chord going on there. So. Now here, when we get to the A minor, it's really an A minor with a C on the bottom. So it's really the way you guys know a C like this, with just these 3 strings. It's really an A minor going on. To the D minor, to a G minor, to the C funky like I'm going to show you. So, starting at that A minor with the C in the bottom, D minor, we get to the G minor with the D in the bottom. Now we're gonna get to that C here, okay? And it doesn't matter how you really do this. I will play it over here. Okay, I think the 6 may be involved there. Let me hear it.
When Esther first saw the Armenian man who groveled toward her and stood by her side with a bucket that swung in his hand, his grin stretched the...
Let's listen to that again.
His grin that swung in his hand, his grin
I think that'll be easier for you to play, even though I think that's what it really is. But here, let me show you what I'm doing. So, the sound going on now is a C7. B flat is the dominant 7th of C. Okay? E is the 3rd of C. So I'm keeping the E on the top all the time here, on this part here. For this note, for these 2 intervals, let's call them double stops because they are. So B flat E, C E. Okay? E is still involved there, but now E's in the bottom of this interval. And the G's on top, so. Got that? Can get it over here too. Sounds more like an organ over here though. If I really want to sound like an organ, that's the way I should be. Yeah, now we're cooking. You guys have those pedals, so I'm gonna not use it. But got that? So real slow. Or if you don't want to catch that there, you just want to go to the 5 and the 1 of C, it's fine. I think I played it both ways in my little short.
His grin stretched the folds of his pasty white cheeks, and his lips hurled a dollop of murk on the curb, and the lights from the rides showed a mischievous sparkle that flashed in his hollow-eyed stare.
Alright, blah, 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 blah. So everything else is the same. So now we're going back to that C. We're getting another C leg, and it's going. So let's listen to that.
In his hollow-eyed stare, he stood on his hollow-eyed stare.
Okay, that's pretty much. It gets you close. You don't have to get this exact. I mean, the guitar's not even really playing this. So I'm giving this to you so you know, if you're the only guitar player playing this song and you want to do it, the beginning of the song has no organ. I mean, has no guitar. So what are you gonna do? Got that? If you're a strummer, see, I'm a hybrid picker. This stuff comes kind of easy to me because I can grab multiple strings. But what I would just do if you can't do the hybrid picking like I'm doing, just go. It sounds so much better. We go. Excuse me. Okay, moving along.
He said, "Little girl, you can chop off my legs and then peel."
Keep going. I know there's a change here.
Peel off my socks if you want to, but I'd rather you took this old puppet from me that I hold in my pail as we.
That's the change there. So throughout the beginning of the whole song until this point here, the rhythm is always doing a. Now here it's gonna go. So it doesn't do. So actually going. Let's listen to it.
And me,
I mean, this
old puppet.
this is being very, very. Am I allowed to say this on YouTube? Anal. But if you want to get it exact to what Paige is doing, this is what's going on. Listen.
Me, that I hold in my pail as we.
Boom. So yeah, that's it. Let's see what the C is doing on this one here.
Speak, and he stood.
That's tricky here. Hold on, let me get this one again.
That I hold in my pail as we I'd rather you took this old puppet from me that I hold in my pail as we speak. And he stood.
Excuse me. Okay, this one here, you're gonna go. So you're doing like almost an E9. So you're getting the flat 5, the 9. Excuse me, you're getting the flat 7, the 9, the 1, the 3. And then you're grabbing the 5 and the 1 over here. So starting from that part where it does a little change. Got that?
That I hold in my pail as we speak. And he stood look.
I'll play it real slow for you. And you know, it might be tricky to get it at the speed right away, but if you practice slow, I mean, what's important is that you play it cleanly. If you're playing it and you're like, stop. If you have to go this slow, then you have to go that slow. If you practice it sloppy, you're going to play sloppy. And I'm telling that to myself too, because I'm very guilty of that. I like to play things right away, you know what I mean? The way that sounds and at the tempo that it is, and sometimes you have to just slow down. So practice with a metronome. That's so important. Let's see where we're at now.
Looking down at the innocent girl, and she
There's some
he
variations.
stared at the. He stood looking down at the beak, and he stood looking down at the innocent girl.
Now you hear is when the rhythm changes. Now it's not doing this at all. It's not doing. So it's going bass. So I look at this stuff as bass, low, high, low. Remember, because at the beginning of the song we were doing it was going. It is kind of the same. Can you get away with doing that live? Yeah, no one's gonna know. Okay? Just kidding. It's a terrible thing to say. I love fish heads. So here. So after the verse happens that I hold my pail as we speak is when the rhythm starts to change. And really it happens in that part of that verse when it gets to that G part that I showed you. Right? Let's keep going.
And she stared at the bucket, bewildered. Then he lifted
There's a cool part that I really like.
the bucket, bewildered. And she stared at the bucket, bewildered. Then he lifted the doll.
They obviously took that from NBC, right? Ding, ding, ding. I don't know how they got away with that. So here. So you're going to catch that like this. When we're coming off of the... you want to be set up on this F. When you come back to this F over with the C in the bottom, instead of holding it this way that we've been holding it, you got to be prepared to hold it like this, because you're going to be doing this. And it's really the same notes repeating. Just an octave higher, you hear that? So. Let's listen to that. That's my favorite part. I mean, to do that on guitar, I think that sounds so cool.
For the young girl to stood looking down at least that I hold in my pail as we speak. And he stood looking down at the innocent girl, and she stared at the bucket bewildered. Then he lifted the doll for the young girl to see.
What is he doing there? Let me hear that.
Girl to see, and a giant smile grew on his face.
So now it's a G minor 7, and for some reason it voices better when I move it over here. I know that D, you know, we came off of the C here. That's where the G is going to fit nicer.
A giant smile grew on his face.
Because the D, the F is definitely on top. Because if I try to get the D over here, the F on top, excuse me, the F over here, unless I get it right. See, that's the thing. Piano's different. It's kind of doing... Really, what's going on is this. But that's not practical for playing this on the guitar, you know? I'm not a classical guitar player. Maybe they could do it and move their hands around like that. I can't. So the easiest way I find to make this work is going to be to... Okay, you got that? It's a G minor 7 with the D on the bottom. Yeah, let's keep it. Now I know something goofy happens here. So I hope I'm being clear with all this stuff. You know, like I said, I'm learning at the same time you are, so it might seem like I'm all over the place, but it's not the easiest song. Plus, I'm not an organ player.
A giant smile grew on his face. A giant smile grew on his.
So here's what's going on. And you know what I say today, as I learn it later on and play it, it may be something completely different. But you gotta have good ears for this stuff. Kind of hearing this going on for the first run. And then the second one, getting rid of this 5, excuse me, getting rid of the G there, the 1, and having a D, having the dominant 7th be in there, so it would be. So the first string of notes is a, so excuse me. So that's what I think is going on. But if that makes you crazy, just keep it simple. Play the G minor 7 the whole way through with the D in the bottom. And then there's something interesting that happens here.
And a giant smile grew on his face.
D flats in the bottom.
bass, bass.
With a G minor 7 flat 5. So, just the thing, piano voicings are really goofy when you try to transpose them to guitar.
Bass, bass.
Alright, so here's the way you're going to catch that. And what do you want to call it? Let's just call it this. Let's call it a D flat, flat 5. So it's a D, it's basically a D flat chord. Right? So 1, 5, 1, major third. But we're taking that 5 and we're going to make it a flat 5. So you got to catch it like this.
Bass, bass.
I mean, here's what it comes down to. Is it cool to know the names of these things? Yes, but what one, you know, you can look at tabs and you can look at the way one guy writes out the notation. He'll name it something else completely different to what someone else is writing it out as, and they're the same notes. So what's important is that you know the notes. What's helpful is you know the theory behind the stuff to explain it. But I'm just gonna call this, like I said, it's gonna be, it's a D flat, D major flat, flat 5. It's just a D flat, flat 5.
Bass, bass.
And it's going to, that's the key change there. And I bet you it's going to an A flat there, because that's going to be the 5 going to A. Let me get. Wow, am I excellent or what? So that E flat is the 5 of A flat. And now we're doing the key change here. So.
Bass, bass, and a giant smile grew on his face. She saw the doll.
Now let's really nail down what's going on there.
A smile grew on his face. She saw.
The easy way to get is, excuse me. Or you could do it like this. Down. Let me hear that again.
Bass. She's.
That'll work. And then blah. See, blah. Beautiful. So we're getting into jazz stuff there. That's why Phish is such a great band. They're so smart, and the stuff that they write, especially the earlier stuff, man. It's like they wrote all their great stuff in the beginning, and I don't know what they're doing today. I don't really listen to them. But this old stuff, Winter, Long Boy, man, all those early albums, I love them. I don't listen to them anymore. I don't play them anymore. But somebody got me back into learning them, so I thought I'd show you some stuff. So. What's going on here is so A flat major, get that. Now you're doing an A diminished 7, 5, 4, 5, 4. So 5 on the 6th string. 4 on the 4th string, 5 on the 3rd string, 4 on the B string, and then we get to the B flat minor. So those chords that go over that. So A flat, A diminished 7, B flat minor 7, E flat, D diminished 7, D flat major, back to a B flat minor, back to an E flat. Just to repeat.
She saw the doll's eyes and she couldn't resist, and she thanked the man quickly and ran to the church, and she burst through the door.
We gotta get that walk up, right? All right, so when we come out of the this part, so when we get to that E flat there, what Paige is kind of doing is going. So if you're gonna just catch it, if you're gonna play the E flat like that, if you're able to, if you're quick enough, so you don't even have to play an E flat chord there. Just when you get to the getting. What you're gonna do, instead of catching the F, the B flat minor like that, catch it like that, because then you're, so when you're coming out of the I wasn't inclined to just grab it like that, because my hands are already set up to get the B flat minor 7 that way. But if I grab it like that, it sets me up for the, my hands are ready to go to this, to that, to that. See, this is why a guitar teacher is so important. You guys can have all the tabs in the world. If you don't know how to navigate your hands around the place, you're going to be lost. You're going to be playing things you're not going to be being economical. And I'm a guitar teacher, so if you ever need private lessons, I'm more than happy to help.
She saw the doll's eyes and she couldn't resist, and she thanked the man quickly and ran to the church, and she burst through the doorway with puppet held high, and a hush filled the chapel and the people looked mean.
It's diminished, but the D's on top, so what would help there is when you're coming out of that part is to play the diminished with the D on top, which is over here. Cool thing about diminished chords, they're symmetrical chords. They're all the same notes involved there, just spaced in different orders, okay? So the way I was playing the D flat diminished was over here, but if we listen to that end before it's going to the F sharp, to the F minor part, listen how the D is doing a little dance here. Wow. Actually, I would play it over here. So here's the best way to get to that. I gotta do it slow. So, what you're used to, I'm just gonna do that last part one more time. the B is on top. Now I gotta make, let me see how I can make, because right now I'm just getting the 1, 5, and 1. But I want to put the tonality, I want to have the minor third in there. No, that's not gonna work. No bueno.
Hush filled the chapel, and the people looked.
See, I gotta pay attention to what the organ's doing. I'm listening to that high line. So definitely that melody part there, we established that that's there. So we want to include that. But now we gotta get what the organ is doing and marry them together.
Hush filled the chapel.
I mean, they're both the organ, but can I make it, can I get them both to sound on the guitar here?
Hush filled the chapel, and the people looked me.
See, it's two completely separate things here. This seems gonna be tricky.
Hush.
Alright, so what I did is, instead of doing a 4-note voicing for these chords, at the end part I'm just going. So 1, flat 5, 1, 1, 5, 1, 5, 7, minor third, to the E, to the F minor chord. Now, when you hear me saying 1, 5, 1, I'm talking about scale degrees. Definitely the D's on the bottom there. That's why I need the D to be on top to get that melody, but if I play a diminished seventh over here, I have the B in the bottom. It doesn't work. So we need to have, the D definitely has to be in the bottom. We need to have the flat 5, and we need to have a D on top for that melody. Now, could I do this? Does that work? Yeah, that works. Can you guys grab that though? That's the thing, that's a tricky kind of chord. So here's what I'm doing.
Hush filled the chapel, and the people looked.
We're gonna stick with that for today. So 5, naming out frets here. 6, 4, 3. Remember, you got slowdown abilities within YouTube. Put it at 50%. Really dissect it. We get to the F part. But of course not played like that. And I should have known that. That's what I mean. These tabs in the line. I mean, I think this was done years ago, like in early 2000s. So I don't know, but they're not accurate. But you got me, so you're in good hands. So. That's it for today. I will get the rest of the song at a later time, soon though, okay? Thank you.